right? Not bad? I appreciate that. Look at me just fishing for applause. No, here we go. Was I good enough? No, I didn't want to say that. Guys, this is one of my favorite things to talk about, communicating with purpose, because we all have amazing missions, we all do amazing work, but sometimes it's just hard for people to understand the impact of what we do, the need for what we do, and some of the hardest conversations I have with people are when they ask me, what do you do for a living? Because then you gotta go, well, I work for a nonprofit, and this is our mission statement, and you go into this roundabout up here in a job interview. It's like the hardest question in a job interview, year after year after year, is when they ask, tell me a little bit about yourself. So that's always the hardest part. Oh, yes, some people still coming in, yeah. We have season tickets right here outside. Right? We got a phone here, but no person. Somebody, are you recording me? Wait a second. Are you going to solve this, or I want to cut? It's so good to be here. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. I see a lot of the peach shirts walking in. That means the bouncers are here, and it's time to get working. I better start working before Vince asks me to do something else later today. Oh! Got some issues. All right. Got our eye on you, sir. All right. So, communicating with purpose, we all do purposeful work, don't we? Raise your hand if you have purpose. Raise your hand if you're on your phone not listening to me. All right, we have some honesty in the room, and I love it. Well, you can't say that, you're recording me. All right, so I love talking about this because the hardest thing we do sometimes is explain the need that we're trying to address, how we're trying to address that need, and the good work we do from it. So many great organizations out there. I've said it before and I'll say it again. You can Google it. You can ask Siri when you leave this room, not now, or you can ask Alexa when you get home. How many nonprofits are there in the United States? There's around roughly 1.5, 1.6 million organizations. That's a lot of groups. And they all probably have a good mission statement, right? They're probably all doing good work. I don't know if there's one out there that's about TPing your neighbor's house or throwing trash on the ground, but they all do pretty good work. The hardest thing that we do is to break through the noise to get people to understand the value of the work we do. And we have to figure out different ways to do that. You can't always do it from a microphone, can you? Public speaking is hard. Believe it or not, I get nervous. I do. I'm wearing 4 t-shirts. I'm sweating through 3 of them right now. It is really hard. Who likes public speaking? Raise your hand. Who likes it? One person? Who doesn't like it? Raise your hand. Please come up to the front and tell us why. Gotcha, didn't I? It's really hard to do. I talked about in my last session yesterday, and I'll just briefly mention it again, that my favorite survey in the entire world is addressing the 5 biggest fears people have. And the number 1 fear people have, and you all raise your hand, is public speaking. The number 2 fear people have is death. So we'd rather be the person in the box than the person giving the eulogy. It's a great joke. Nobody laughed this time around, but it works when they first hear it. After that, one of the things we got to talk about is asking for money. Who asked for money in the room? Raise your hand. If you got to ask for money, if you got to fundraise, raise your hand. Raise your hand. Guys, full extension. This is going to be complete calisthenic workout today. We all have to raise money. It is the F word in the nonprofit sector. It is hard to talk about. Some of our friends have blocked our calls. Some of our friends won't answer our emails because they know we're going to ask for something, whether it's an in-kind donation, whether it's an auction item, whether it's a raffle item. I see heads nodding, people smiling. But we all have to work on the help of others. So we have to figure out what's the best way to get people energized and involved. And we got to break through the noise to do it. Aren't we all busy? Who in here isn't busy? If somebody were to walk up to you right now and say, hey, how's it going? How's it going, Vicki? What's going on? Oh, I'm busy. Everyone's busy. Everyone's busy. I've never had anyone just stop and start talking to me. Hey, man, I'm not really doing anything right now. You want to chat? I'm like, what? You're not busy? Everyone's busy. And the variable of success today in a communication overloaded world is how do we win donor attention? Who's got a phone on them right now? Who's got a phone in their hand right now? Who is never within an arm's reach of their phone? Raise your hand. I love the people who have their phone in their hand. Why do they raise their hand? Who takes their phone almost everywhere with them? Raise your hand. Leave your hand up if you take it to the bathroom. Oh, you guys are gross. All right, now that I got you to admit that. Our phones are everything, but yet, you guys remember it's always fun around Christmas, around Thanksgiving time, Black Friday deals, right? You got to get those deals. What's the number one item sold in all department stores that you see throughout the aisles? Target and Walmart and Best Buy. What's the thing you see everywhere? TVs, right? Who's got a big TV? Raise your hand. I'll be over later to watch some stuff. We all got big TVs, but yet, when we're in our living rooms today, if we're with our kids, the TV's not on and everyone's on their phone. The phone has replaced the laptop and the television and the tablet as the number one technological device used in the home. But for some reason, there's still 1,000 TVs in all the aisles at Walmart every single year around Christmas time. We're on our phones all the time. So if we're on our phones all the time, we're constantly bombarded with what? Stuff, ads, information. Who gets their news from their phone? I know you do. You're chasing storms all the time. We get everything from our phones. Sometimes the thing we hate doing on our phones the most is what? Talking. When you get a call from a friend or your spouse, let's be honest, who's like, I got to talk to them right now. That's what I should have said when Savannah texted this morning. Sometimes they're like, I'll send them. It's great now. When you get a call now, if you got an iPhone, it allows you to send a customized message. Because you can't just keep hitting the same message saying, I can't talk right now. My wife was onto that job. So I would say, I'm really busy right now giving a presentation to the entire Cherokee Nation. She's like, liar. So we're on our phones all the time. In a communication overloaded world, we have to realize the only way to reach people and to get their attention is to provide value. Think about everything that's got your attention over the last 48 hours, the last 72 hours, the last 2 weeks, whatever it was. Something got your attention because it provided value to you. We're used to noise. We're used to chaos, and we have to find a way through it. So how do you win attention? Now, when I went to, and that was a true story, when I went to work at a mental health foundation, I was the 7th executive director in 10 years. I was told if I didn't work out, they were going to just dissolve the foundation. So again, best pep talk ever when you're starting a job. And they told me, nobody wants to talk about mental health. Nobody wants to talk about addiction. Nobody wants to talk about grief and loss. And nobody wants to talk about suicide. Have fun. That's literally what I was told. And I was told, if you can get people to talk about it, you'll be the first one that's ever been able to do it. And again, this is from an organization that had been around 72 years, serving 30,000 people a year. So obviously we were a community resource. So how did I do it? I had to make sure that I realized that nobody cared about all the vanity metrics, all the awards that we won, all the people that we served, the crazy marketing plans that people came up with. And we'll show a couple of funny examples here. I had to make sure people understood that we were a place of value. So I started educating people. I started telling people it was okay to talk about things that weren't okay to talk about the other day. I had to put out there that people are putting out stories from community leaders so they know it was okay to be vulnerable. I had to put out there that it was okay to take care of yourself because we were told for so long it wasn't. That's what we did. So goals for today, giving you a little bit of preface of what's going on today. The goals for today is to walk away with strategies to improve your messaging. We're going to go over a great messaging exercise. Different types of messaging, what hits and what doesn't hit. The power of storytelling. I know as a Cherokee Nation, I've worked with other tribal communities, storytelling is a huge part of our culture, but there's ways to do it that we can be more impactful. How stakeholders, and we have lots of stakeholders. Let's start thinking about who those people are. Are they our donors? Are they our board members? Are they our volunteers? Lots of stakeholders in our organization. Let's figure out who needs to help tell our story, different types of stories to tell, and then how to capitalize on that engagement. So who has heard of somebody named Simon Sinek? Came up with an idea called the Golden Circle. A couple people raise their hand. Thank you. Basically, the golden circle is about the what, the how, and the why of what we do. Because we're hardwired to talk about the what and the how. Isn't that the easy stuff? If I ask you what your organization does, couldn't you tell me? Fairly easy. If I ask how you do it, couldn't you tell me? Fairly easy. If I ask why you did it, wouldn't you have to think for a second? You have to wonder, is this a trick question? Is there a right answer? Is there a wrong answer? Because we're hardwired to talk about the what and the how. So when I would tell people I worked for a mental health facility, they immediately thought of straitjackets and mattress rooms. And I'm like, wait a second, there's some preconceived notions here. There's some myths I have to dispel. So then I have to tell them, okay, let me tell you what we do. We're not just a mental health facility for people in crisis or a destabilization unit. We're not just for kids and we're not just for adults. I'm not just going to tell you how we do it with case management and inpatient therapy and outpatient therapy and injection therapy and house and services and all these things. I got to tell you why we do it. And why do we do it? Because 1 in 5 people suffer from mental illness. That's why we do it. But if I ask people in this room, like I did in the room back there, who in here has been impacted by mental illness in some way, whether it's addiction, whether it's suicide, whether it's grief and loss, whether it's yourself, a member of your family, or one of your close 4 to 5 friends, who would raise their hand in here? Boom. So it's not just 1 in 5. 5 in 5 of us have mental health, right? 5 in 5 of us have struggled. 5 out of 5 of us have had issues of grief and loss. 5 out of 5 of us had been a caretaker. You're like, well, that's some pretty impressive math, Ian. 5 out of 5 people. I mean, even with gum, it's 4 out of 5 dentists recommend, right? So 5 out of 5 of us have mental health. And so that's how I started talking about why we existed. And that's how we started to gain traction. But we had to change our messaging. So we had to go through messaging in steps. And we got to think about how are we going to reach other people? We know it's difficult. We've messaged before. So we have this thing where we go, let's see the issue, let's talk about the because, and let's talk about the therefore. When we fundraise, we talk a lot about the problem, the cause, and the solution. What problem are we trying to address? How are we trying to address it? And which way are we doing that? And then the outcome that we hope for. These are all important messaging tools. You can't just talk about the number of people you served out at an event. You've got to talk about why that event exists in the first place, because that's bringing value. Again, it's hard to break into all the noise. If you want to get somebody's attention, you've got to provide them value. So let's talk about inspiring messaging. Let's talk about unclear missions. I've worked for these organizations before. I've taken over organizations that were doing amazing work, but they just didn't know how to explain what they did. Here was one of the examples. I worked for an equity and education organization, and they had one of the most complicated mission statements I had ever read. To close the academic achievement gap by preparing and supporting diverse and highly qualified teachers who raise expectations, accelerate learning, and close the achievement gap by granting scholarships and promoting innovative social justice curriculum. I'll wait while you send me your money. What does that mean? It looks like a PhD vomited on the screen. I asked them, what do you mean? Well, I don't know what you do. Does anybody know what we do? This was a Hall of Fame baseball player starting an equity and education organization, and nobody came to the events to learn about equity and education. What do you think they came for? Well, they came for autographs and selfies, but that's what we did. We provided scholarships. That was one of the things that we did. But they thought because he was rich, we didn't need to raise money, right? Because one rich guy's involved in something, that means equity in education is going to be solved, right? Because somebody with money cares about something, so it's over. What is that, Publishers Clearinghouse Philanthropy? It doesn't exist. And we all know how well athletes really conservative with their money, right? Yeah. So that's why it's somewhere around 70% of all people that play in the NFL. I think it's 60% of all people that play in the NBA, maybe 40% of all people that play in Major League Baseball are broke within the first 5 years. But because we have a preconceived notion, so they came to me and they go, what should we do? I said, close your doors. I don't know what this is. So we had to get clear, and we had to be crystal clear about what we were doing. So I said our new mission was to improve teacher diversity and the retention of teachers of color in Washington State. Same thing, right? Just more clear. Then I go, let's come up with the tagline. The Martinez Foundation is the only nonprofit organization in the state of Washington whose focus is to recruit, support, and retain teachers of color in their profession. Now there's clarity. Now you know we're the only one doing it. Now you know why we're doing it. Now you know who we're doing it for. And that's when we started having traction. So think about, everyone's got a great mission statement. Everyone worried and really workshopped their mission statement, right? Nobody wrote their mission statement in the shower like I did in my keynote speech a minute ago. Again, I didn't take a shower. I just got up and did it. Took a shower last night. But we struggle with it. We struggle with our mission statement like it's the only thing that we do. We can go back and change it, or we can add things around it. We can be more clear. We can add clarity to our messaging. Messaging is important. We need our messaging to help us do the work that we do. I work for a police foundation right now. It was great. I worked in mental health. There was a stigma of mental health. Now I work for a police foundation. There's a stigma about policing. So I really take on the soft issues, don't I? The Seattle Police Foundation, their mission, raise support and awareness for the Seattle Police Department. Well, that's really inspiring. I'll wait for your money to come forward. Makes no sense. I like setting up missions and I like setting up messaging like knock-knock jokes. Knock-knock. I want people to respond. Here's how I did it. Who we are. Since 2002, the Seattle Police Foundation has championed public safety in Seattle. I haven't even mentioned the department yet. Because I want you to say, okay, we just did the knock-knock exercise, guys. I want you to respond, who's there? All right, and then the mission. I can get away with the mission now. The Seattle Police Foundation raises support and awareness for the Seattle Police Department. You're like, okay, how do you do that? Tagline, we're committed to supporting and strengthening the work of SPD through philanthropy, advocacy, and building strong community partnerships. Now do you have a better idea of what I do? Because we're clear. We're clear in the messaging. So think about your messaging right now. How inspiring is it? How clear is it? Are we getting to a place where people say, who's there? I want people to keep coming back and asking me. Everything that I come up with, I want a response back. After reading this, people are like, well, how do you do that? Well, we work with officers as well and have an internal grant program that helps officers do their job each and every day. So whether that's emergency equipment, whether that's technology, whether it's crime prevention initiatives in communities, in neighborhoods, whether that's officer mental health and wellness, or whether that's emergency services we provide to families and children in need. Now you get it, right? People think all I do are buy armored vehicles for the SWAT team. No, that's not what we do. I'd probably say 85%, roughly, almost 90% of what we do is community development focused. But we can also have messaging in other ways. So think about the things that you do. Are there symbols that are powerful symbols out there to help you with messaging? Are there powerful images out there to help you with messaging? Think about ways to help amplify what you do, because we can't do it alone. Who feels like they're alone in this work sometimes? Like it's just you against the world. Anybody? Raise your hand. Come on now. Just me against the world. I know that's a Tupac song. Sorry, if you're over 50, you get it. But I want people to understand sometimes we feel that way, but we need help. So find powerful images that do that. I was in the mental health space for years, and a powerful image that I kept seeing was a semicolon. Anybody know what the semicolon represents in mental health? Taking a pause before realizing it's not the thing to do to take your life. I've seen people have this tattoo on them all over the country. I've seen people recognize that this is a powerful symbol in the mental health space, to stay strong, to understand your story's not over, to understand that you're not alone. Powerful image. And it's a semicolon. You add another slash to it, and it's a winky face on text. I love when you guys laugh at it and when you don't laugh at it. So good. I got to remember to write that one down. So it's a powerful image. And again, I had to find powerful ways to talk about a tough subject, because mental health is a tough subject. And I know a lot of you deal with tough subjects. Poverty is a tough subject. Food insecurity is a tough subject. Domestic violence is a tough subject. We deal with tough subjects. So I was at a mental health conference and they kept flashing images. And no one realized it until after a while was going on. The images they were flashing were all people, high-profile people, celebrities who had died by suicide. And in the last image before everyone got started that day was, everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Be kind always. Powerful. The room was silent. 500 plus people walking in on their phones, chit-chatting, talking to their friends, texting people and their family, completely silent as these images slowly popped on the screen. Because we look at some of these people and we think success. We look at some of these people and we think they got money. We look at some of these people and we think there's no reason why they're not happy. But you can't see mental illness, can you? I can't see grief and loss. I don't know who in here is struggling right now. I can't see that. So that's why it was powerful. Then you got other voices in messaging. You take somebody powerful like Malala, who's fought for women's rights and education for girls and was shot for it. And she's powerful, and she's got this great line that says, when the world is silent, even one voice becomes powerful. Amazing message. Think about messaging. Think about how we interact with people. We can't always go through everything that we do. We need images. We need symbols. We need images that also amplify our missions and our voice. Extremely powerful. So we have to go through an exercise to do it. So let's talk about what that exercise looks like. Let's just start simple. This is a great thing to do with your board. It's a great thing to do with your staff. You can even do this with your donors. Or you can do this with your teams. Lots of different ways to start messaging. And you can start with, I work for who? Let's just start simple. I care about the cause because I believe in what we are going, or what we are doing, or what we are going to. Fill in the blank. I think you would enjoy getting involved because. A great way to initiate donors. A great way to initiate someone you'd like to be on your board. Think about messaging in steps. We talked about we messaged in steps before. Think about what that looks like. Sometimes we have to go through the exercise. It's not inherent to everybody. I asked people to raise their hand if they enjoyed public speaking. One person raised their hand. I asked people who didn't enjoy public speaking. Everyone raised their hand. This is difficult. It takes practice. Everything you do, I like to tell people, is like reps in a batting cage. Nobody steps up to the plate and just hits home runs. Everyone needs practice. Even your best, most committed people need practice. So let's start looking at how we can practice getting the messaging out there. Because the messaging leads to storytelling. The messaging is the introduction. The messaging is the first impression. So now let's talk about the power of storytelling. A friend of mine named Michael Margolis wrote an amazing book. Says storytelling is about connecting people and other people and helping other people see what you see. You got to read that 3 or 4 times for it to make sense. You can't say it fast and then try to whistle. Storytelling is about connecting people to other people and helping other people see what you see. We want to believe the work we are doing is so important. Everyone should understand it the same way we do. But they don't see it every day. So we have to find ways for them to see it. And that takes time. That takes practice. We are obviously a species of people that like to tell stories. And we got to find the right people to share our stories. And we know there are good people out there. Is it always got to be you? Can we think of some of the people that we'd like to share our story with, who could share our story for us? Is it a donor? Is it a board member? Is it that volunteer we can't get rid of? Who is it? Let's think about who that. Why do people laugh when I say the volunteer we can't get rid of? I love it. Everyone's got one. Everyone's got one. You might be that person. Everyone's got one. So let's talk about what storytelling should do. It should elevate the importance of the organization's work. It should remind other stakeholders that they are making an impact and continually having a vital role to play. It should emphasize that the donors are the ones providing the solution to an urgent need. Believe it or not, in the story of you and donor, you're not the superhero. We like to think we are sometimes, but sometimes we have to remind ourselves that the donor is the person who's helping make this work happen. Stories have the ability to impact us on a profound level, especially when we feel a strong connection to the storyteller. I have amazing board members on my board. I say that because he's recording it. I don't want this to get out. You're all great, by the way. I have amazing board members, but some of them are not the best in front of people. Some of them have a hard time sharing what they're passionate about. So we find other ways. I do an exercise I do with all my board members for the last several years where I said, we're going to have a board member photo shoot. It's always funny to see who gets a little nervous when you talk about a photo shoot. It's really just an iPhone and a backdrop. But everyone gets a little bougie. Everyone thinks they're a model. I tell them I'll bring my hairstylist and we'll have a great time. But we do a board photo shoot. And I do it because I want people to walk through the motions of getting ready to be storytellers. Some people, you got to say, let's talk about maybe a board testimonial that we can add to your image so we can really convey why it is you do this work. And if you ask a board member to get back to you with why they do this work, you're like, I need 300 to 350 characters. What do I get back? 300 to 350 words. I'm like, I didn't ask people to write a college entrance essay. I asked people to tell me why they care about this work. But it's hard because why? We're not hardwired to talk about our why. We're hardwired to share our what and our how. So we have to understand stories have an importance, and we have to share with people how they can do that. Stories also are the common ground that allow people to communicate and overcome our differences so we can better understand ourselves and each other. So let's talk about that. Why use stakeholders to communicate our purpose? Because we can't do it all. We need some of these people to increase trust and build rapport with our audience, to give our organization that influence factor, to talk about the connection they feel to the organization. Have you had the opportunity to sit down with your volunteers, your staff, your board, and just say, why are you here? Because we know it's not just the paycheck, right? Why are you connected to the mission? What brings you back each and every day? How can we utilize their passion? How can we amplify their purpose to connect with others? If you've been in a session that I have presented at for years, you have seen this slide because it's my favorite slide in the world, and it amplifies what I'm trying to say about stakeholders because we all have superpowers, don't we? Come on now. If you're a CAD person, the acronym is PER. Persuasion, recommendation, and referral. Every single one of us has experienced this in the last couple of weeks. Who has been ever recommended a restaurant to go eat at? Raise your hand. Who has ever asked for a referral to see a doctor? Raise your hand. Who has asked for a recommendation to see a hairstylist? My man. Yeah, we've all been there. These are the superpowers that your stakeholders, your donors, and your board members have because they're the ones that share their purpose and their why. That's what we need. And when we talk about amplifying our mission, when we talk about how can we share our why with our organizations, there's lots of ways to do it because we're not using vanity metrics anymore. We're not just talking about the number of people we serve. We're not just talking about the number of money, the amount of money we raise. We're not just talking about the number of programs that we have. I've often told people, and this joke lands better in the Midwest, that if nonprofits could share how many J.D. Power awards that they won, like car dealerships, we probably would. Does anybody know what that award really is, by the way? I mean, I've heard so many dealerships talk about, we won 20 J.D. Power awards. I'm like, really? What's the criteria? I want to win one. Well, I know there's an answer out there, and I'm not trying to make light of it, but we would talk about it, but that doesn't bring anybody to us. What brings people to us are when we tell stories that bring value. And what are those stories? The 3 best stories a nonprofit organization can tell are personal stories, donor stories, and thank you stories. The problem is we make the mistake of only speaking in push messages. And those are messages that talk about our value in the community and not the people we serve. We talk about it's the 15th annual awards event. It's going to be great. Okay, what does that mean? We bring things up that don't have meaning to people, and if it doesn't have meaning, and if it doesn't provide value, do we get their attention? No. So let's find a way to add value. And we talked about the golden circle. We talked about the what, the how, and the why. And so let's look for a minute at what that is. Let's break that out. We know what we do. We can talk about this all day. If I asked any single person in here what it is you do, you would with some confidence be able to tell me, I'm not going to do it. Don't start looking down at your phone. A lot of people stop making eye contact. They want to ask them a question. Talk about how you do it. What are all the things that you do? What are all your programs? Let's talk about the why. Why do you do it? Why do you do what you do? What's the purpose behind your business? And some of the most effective stories are one of these 3 stories: personal stories, donor stories, and thank you stories, because they better express our why. So let's look at examples of those. I work with a group in Tampa called Leadership Tampa Bay, and they were struggling with applications and people wanting to engage in the program. And so about 6-7 years ago, I said, let's start having people explain their experience. These are personal stories. What did the experience mean to you? How did it help you develop as a leader? How did it help you feel more confident working in the community? How did it help you add value as a volunteer, as a board member, as a donor? And once we started doing that, applications rose greatly because people started seeing the value the program added to the person involved. So they started sharing their why. It was great. I started looking at donor stories. Organizations that were amplifying their donors. What did that look like? People talking about why they believed in the power of what they were doing. Why being a donor? What was that moment in time that they actually made the connection with why they should support an organization? Some of the most powerful stories that you can receive are actually from your donors, but we don't ever really utilize that group, do we? Very few of us actually utilize our donors in our messaging. Why? It's an amazing story to tell when you can explain to somebody that moment in time that you decided to give to an organization. Now let's talk about thank you stories. Stories of gratitude are so important. We're told when we fundraise, you have 48 to 72 hours to let your donors know that you thank them for it. And all of us do that. We thank them for their donation. We give them a little tax write-off note, and we call it a day. We haven't asked the people that we work with, can you write a thank you back? What does that look like? What do thank you stories look like? How is it can you help somebody and not want to get back to them, from them, the story of how that help impacted their life? Think about some of those stories. That would be powerful. And it's very hard sometimes to tell those stories. Sometimes we're dealing with people that have been through severe trauma. Sometimes we're talking about issues of people with confidentiality. I worked in behavioral health. I was told, Ian, we can't have our clients tell stories. I'm like, what about family members of clients? What about places where they work, where they utilize us as a service and it's added value to that organization? There's lots of ways around it. And there's opportunities where you can ask people and people get to a place where they're comfortable sharing. Utilize what those look like. I've done this exact same talk for folks and they've come back to me with, but it didn't work, Ian, you were wrong. I'm like, all right, send me examples. Boom. Here are their examples. Worked with the Boys and Girls Club. I was a Boys and Girls Club guy for 11 years. I have the Boys and Girls Club mission statement tattooed on myself, so it's to inspire and enable our young people, especially those from disadvantaged circumstances, to recognize their full potential as productive and caring citizens. Boom. That was impressive. Nobody wanted to clap for that? Really? I haven't worked for them for 15 years and I still remember it. Boom. There you go. Look at that. He goes, we didn't know it ahead of time, so we're not going to clap. I ran through this, and the organization came back to me and said, Ian, we tried it. We used black and white images. Weren't they more personal? You said that would help. We came up with funny names for our board members. We had Brenda board member and Brian board member. I'm like, I don't know why you did that. We had a little QR code in case we inspire people to give right away. They could just immediately go give, because every time that we've read something powerful, we immediately felt like giving somebody money, right? So let me get this straight. You thought you were given an impactful story, and immediately the first thing you decided to do was transact on that. Not the best strategy, but let's talk about the stories you were telling. Are they personal stories? Are they donor stories? Are they thank you stories? What are they really saying? His story says supporting our clubs means kids have a chance to thrive in a safe and positive place surrounded by peers and positive adult mentors. That sounds more like how and what and not why, doesn't it? Her story. It is important that people understand that when they donate to the club, they aren't just giving to an organization. They are giving to kids in our community. What does that mean? There's lots of organizations out there that have kids that need stuff. What are you explaining to me? Where's the why in this messaging? And I told them, look, there's nothing wrong with the images. Those are great people. They're both better looking than me. I approve of these messages. There's nothing wrong with your way you're marketing around it, but you're not reaching people. You're not providing value. You're hanging on with the how and the what, and you haven't got to the why. There's also people that just struggle with messaging. I've seen organizations, it's funny being in the addiction and mental health space because you see people try a lot of stuff, and sometimes that stuff just doesn't land too well. Example? Here's an example of a messaging that the school district, I'm not going to say where, wanted to provide messaging out there to keep kids away from drugs. So what do? They put it on pencils. Too cool to do drugs. Use that pencil a little bit more. Cool to do drugs? Use it a little bit more. Do drugs. Keep using it. Drugs. And I'm like, well, your pencil works when you first use it. People sometimes, we have these great ideas. And I'm not even, I will say this. They spent a lot of money workshopping this campaign. And sometimes we just don't think. They're like, what's a way to get the messaging out to kids? Pencils. All right, what's a good message? They spent focus groups, weeks figuring this out, and money. People are still laughing. Thank you. I'm glad I can provide a little bit of levity for you this morning. But this messaging misses the mark, doesn't it? I mean, once we use it, okay, that's cool. But then after that, as we use the pencil over time, it becomes a messaging the other way. There was another campaign I thought to put in here, and I didn't. It was done in South Dakota. I don't know if anybody heard of this. And it was to address the drug issue, especially around meth. And the campaign was called Meth. We're on it. You can't make this up. Meth, we're on it. And I looked at the commercial involved with Meth, we're on it, and it was just people saying the phrase over and over again, Meth, we're on it. And in the message at the end, this is an issue that we're all taking care of together, and it had a phone number. And people thought it was a phone number to get meth. Obviously, there was good meaning behind it. Obviously, they wanted people to understand it was an issue and that the state was taking action and that people were looking to address it. But did it land the way they wanted it to land? It's a lot like these pencils. Everyone ended up do drugs. So sometimes our messaging doesn't always hit. It's always good to sometimes focus group, share some of your bright ideas with other people outside your organization, whether it's your board, whether it's your donors, whether it's your volunteers. I've had staff that didn't know when campaigns were going to go out, and they're like, we wish you would have ran it by us, because this campaign probably would have been stopped before it started. the Meth We're On campaign probably would have been stopped before it was started. But we have to understand that sometimes our best ideas and our best intentions don't always have the best impact, do they? So think about that. So as we think about our messaging, as we think about our storytelling, who is the best person to tell your story? Think about that right now. Who are the best group of people to share your story, to talk about your impact? Once you figure out who that is, it's time to get them ready. We're ready to launch. How do we prepare our people? Let's talk about the idea. You always want to talk to people in group settings first so you can follow up with individual meetings second. So present the idea. Here's what we're doing. We want to come up with a campaign that talks about impact, that shares the work that we do. We want you to be one of those people to do it. We're going to talk about our why. Let's talk about the goals of the campaign, the engagement. How many people ask their board members or their volunteers to help them raise money? Raise your hand. Did you ask board members or volunteers to raise money? How many people have to raise money themselves again? Raise your hand. I want to see more hands go up, people. This is low impact aerobics this morning. Thank you. So, a lot of the work that we do is sometimes really hard. Sometimes we feel like we're always chasing money, we're chasing auction items, we're chasing stuff. I want to create a campaign. We're going to share examples here in a second. I want to create a campaign where people come to you. So that's how you sell this idea. You talk about participation. The participation is, let's talk about your why. Why do you give your time? Why do you support this organization? Let's talk about that. Let's provide value to people. And now let's talk about the rules of engagement. Does everyone here have a preferred social media platform that they just seem to always be on? You're on it last night when you couldn't sleep. You're probably on it right now because I'm not entertaining enough. What is that? Is it Facebook? Is it LinkedIn? Is it TikTok? Is it X? Is it Tinder? Just saying who's listening. What is it? And let's figure out, if you were to post your philanthropic interest, if you were to post what you care about in the community, where would you post it? And let's talk about engaging people on that platform, because the goal of these campaigns is for people to interact with you. So here's what we did, very similar to what I shared this morning. Obviously, I didn't know I was going to have to share it this morning, so I apologize for the rerun. But here's what the campaign looked like. I asked people to share, why are you here? Why are you here? Bill and Erica both had people in their family they lost to suicide. They never shared that with the people they were on a board with for years until I asked them to share it, because that was their why. That's why they were there. Not everyone's ready to tell their story, but when you have people who are ready, ask them if it's okay. So I asked them to share their story. We worked on it because a lot of times people put a lot of words together and don't always mean a lot of great stuff. Sometimes they're a little wordy, so I always say, I'm going to take your words and we're going to help find your voice. So we helped found their voice. And so we started sharing these stories, these personal stories of why they were so passionate about the mission, why they were so enthusiastic about the work that we did, why they were cared so deeply about why we existed in this community. And so once they started sharing, that's when the magic happened. Because I would ask them, because not everyone's ready to share, we'd take those who were ready to go first. There's always somebody enthusiastic, ready to jump up and be the first one to do something. And I say, come back to me and share with everybody else about your experience. And every single person to a board member, to a staff, to a donor said it was the most engaging piece of content they'd ever shared on social media, because people came to them. They were vulnerable and shared their story, so people shared their story back, whether it was on an open feed on Facebook, whether it was a private message. People said, I had no idea you've dealt with that. I've dealt with that in my family too. How can I help? Or I had no idea that was why you were on that organization. Can you tell me more? We ask so much of our team, so much of our volunteers, so much of our board members, and a lot of that is feeling like we have to go out there and just chase people down for stuff, for money, for resources, for whatever it is. And sometimes we need to create messaging and we need to create stories that bring people to us. And that's what this did. I did the exact same thing at the Police Foundation. I'm running the same playbook. It's very deja vu with me. You'll see it again. And I asked people, why are we doing this work? Why are you here? My board chair told me after 8 months, my son was involved at a high school where there was a fatal shooting. That's why I'm here, because I care deeply about the importance of public safety. That's a powerful why. Susie is 70, what did she tell me she was? 78 years old. And she said if it wasn't for the relationships that she's had with police, she probably would have lost her business several times. So people deeply care, and I want them to tell their stories. I want them to share, because I want people to go to them and say, tell me more. If I told you, all my messaging is easy. Knock, knock. Exactly. Let's talk about why this works. Why do stories work? Sharing stories and examples of real challenges and our real feelings and our vulnerabilities creates a safe space for others to do the same, period. It reminds us that we have a much better chance to achieve a bigger positive impact through connections and collective actions. Vulnerability and empathy are superpowers, my friends. They're not weaknesses. You will draw more people in the more real you are. I share openly. I've written a book. It's not Harry Potter, but there's a book out there that I share my personal experiences losing friends to addiction and suicide. I share personal experiences of having family that have had issues with addiction and mental illness. And it wasn't until I was able to do that that I reach other people wanting to do the same. And you got to understand, it's one thing to ask other people to tell their story. You got to be able to do it too. So put yourself through the exercise. I've memed myself so many times I should be working for Hallmark. Always feel free to tell your story. You have a powerful story to tell. There's a reason why you get up and do this work each and every day. The more times that I made myself a greeting card, the more times I attracted people to help me do the work. So think about all the reasons why you do your why. Because it's powerful. It's incredibly powerful. Real quick, how long do I have you guys for? 11:30? All right, just double check it. All right. So let's talk about a campaign and what it looks like. We just showed some ideas. Organization shares the content internally. I like doing that because I want everyone to be ready for it. I will share with your staff, share with your volunteers. We're getting ready to do something pretty neat. We want to share it with you. Get them to see, it's easy to go, well, that's the board, we're the staff, we do the real work. Share it internally. Get people ready for what they're about to see. Stakeholders launch their content on their preferred platform. How many people are on more than one social media? Raise your hand. How many people got a favorite? Raise your hand. How many people are on Tinder? I was my guy. Thank you for sharing. So, what I'm trying to get at is let people post where they're comfortable. If you're going to be vulnerable in your space. I can't force you to be vulnerable in my space. That used to be a platform, didn't it? I forgot about that. Be comfortable in your space. Then, after they post, the organization, because organizations usually have more than one platform, usually we're on 2 or 3 or 4. We try to spread our mission wide. Organization post. And then at every single meeting, whether it's a board meeting, whether it's a committee meeting, whether it's a volunteer meeting, talk about what that engagement looks like. My most active board meetings were when people shared other people sharing with them. I'll say that again, because that was a tongue twister. My most active meetings are when people shared what other people were sharing with them. Magic happened in the room. You would think everyone just woke up to the same inspirational song that day. Everyone was willing to talk about it. They're like, you're not going to believe the messages that I received. You're not going to believe the things that were shared on an open feed. Other people came to me that said they had alcoholism in their family. Other people came to me that said they had grief and loss that they had experienced recently. Other people said they had suicide somewhere in their family. Other people said they were a caregiver. People came to the table and said, thank you for sharing. Now they felt comfortable to share as well. That's what it opens up. Remember what this says. Sharing stories and examples of real challenges, our real feelings and vulnerabilities, allows other people for a safe space to do the same. That's what we're talking about here. That's what we want, because we know once we have that kind of commitment, once we have that kind of engagement, it's time to amplify our story. We know that we've done this exercise once and people have seen it successful. They'll want to do it again. I started with my foundation board. Then the senior staff go, we want to do it because we have a why too. Then the corporate board said, we want to do it. Then the donor said, can we get in on this? Everyone wanted to start sharing their why. We were a small organization with no traction that had been around for 72 years and nobody knows we existed. Within 2 years, everyone knew because we constantly shared it. And if anyone ever reached out to me and said, hey, can you write something for our organization? I'm like, sure, let me just send you a bunch of picture quotes. And they'd run it in magazines. No matter who it was. And we experimented with different ways. Here's different tiles, different logo placements, different announcements. I'm like, if I'm going to get space in a magazine, if I'm going to get space in a newsletter, someone's going to give me space on their website, I want to share the most powerful stuff. And that's what brought people to us. Not the number of people we served, not the number of programs we had, not what our budget was, not our successful whatever. It was our why. Every single time. Because we know, because we see this all the time, we learn 10% of what we read, 20% of what we hear, 30% of what we see, 50% of what we see and hear. But what do all of those exercises actually do for us? They do the last three of what we discuss, of what we experience, and what we teach others. That's the magic of this. Because when you see somebody share something vulnerable and powerful and impactful, you talk about it. You have that discussion. You share that experience. The best part of me asking a group of people, no matter how small or how big, who in the room has been impacted by, and the number of hands that go up, it's amazing to see the number of people with a shared experience because we spend so much of our time noticing our differences and not what our similarities are. And that's how we're able to teach others. Fundraising is still the goal. We know we got to raise money. We know we got to win attention. We know everyone's busy. We know everyone's distracted. There's people on their phone right now. I don't take it personal. I'm hurt, but I don't take it personal. I appreciate that. I want a percentage of those too. People give to an organization because doing so offers them a chance to write their own story while at the same time join in a shared story. What do you guys think about that? Powerful? Think about it. They're not just donating to your mission because of the program. They're not just donating to your organization because of the impact you have. They're becoming part of your organization. We are a people of storytellers. We are a species of storytellers. It's not based on who we are and what we are. It's not just tribal based. It's not just Cherokee based. We are a species of storytellers. So people give to your organization because doing so offers them a chance to be part of it, while at the same time joining in your success as well. Does anybody know who said that? I did. All right. So, most profound thing I ever did. I want to make sure I get credit for it. We understand that getting traction is difficult. And I'll close with this because I want people to start thinking about, what is your story and who do you want to tell it? We know it's hard to win the battle for attention. Please understand that providing value and sharing your why is the best place to do that. Understand that empathy and vulnerability are superpowers in that work because people want to be part of a shared story. So think about it as you walk out of here today, as you get ready to go back to your organizations and your communities that you serve. Think about who you want to tell your story. Thank you, everybody. Again, if you want to get hold of me, you can always email me at any time. I no longer give my phone number out because Savannah immediately called it the next morning. But if you'd like to email me, connect with me on LinkedIn, connect with me on social media, I'm happy to do it. The jokes don't get any better, but the information might. Thanks, everybody.
How do we learn more from you without looking?
Yeah, I do have a TED Talk on YouTube, and I did write a book. So yeah, you can Google it. It's a fun read. Grab a six-pack, scroll through. Somebody told me there was over 100 pages of